There we go. See, you're thinking.
Oh.
You're thinking, man. Welcome to another edition of the Wide World of Motorsports podcast. Recording for the week of January 30th, 2022. And we're
January
here.
30th.
Yeah.
Already.
Oh, dude, we're off. Yeah, I mean,
Isn't that
like,
crazy?
we're already going into basically well into the motorsport season. It's basically already underway, ready to go.
Yeah.
Good times. But yeah, we're here recording for that the final week of January. We're here with episode 2 of season 5. And we're broadcasting to you off of Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, a couple of other streaming platforms, and apparently
Hulu?
we're
Are
still
we on
on the hey Hulu, want to put out the WOMs on your podcast on your streaming service? I mean,
There you go.
so we're also part of the Waterloo Region Podcast Hour on Radio Waterloo monthly. Fantastic. We're also on social media at the WWOMS. You can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're also with the Wide World of Motorsports TV up on YouTube there, where we stream these episodes live, and then we'll also have hopefully some edited versions or something on Facebook or something like that we could put on. We got a band right now, the boys and I. They're helping us out with some music during our show and a new intro and all that. Where the WOMS has commissioned them to get us a theme song going or something. So looking forward to that coming up. And what else? What else do we got? What else is going on?
We got the Clash coming up.
Well, yeah. I mean for our plugging our stuff. So we got our website, the Wide World of Motorsports podcast.wordpress.com. You stupid! You stupid, Wallace! You're fired! No,
you edit it?
No.
I'm just kidding.
No, check us out. We're posting stuff to our website. We got a couple of we're trying to put on the writer hat there. We do have a Discord. We got it. How do we? Yeah, I'm gonna look into that right now. You can still hear me, right?
We don't use it enough.
Yeah.
I can still hear
So I'm looking at our Discord right now, and I think all you got to do is just search the WOMS, the WW at the WWOMS, just like you would on social media. And I think you could just send us a request to join, and we'll pop in. It'd be cool if we can start doing some of our shows. If people want to pop in and listen live through Discord as well, that'd be cool.
Or even come
there's
race
enough
with
interest in that. Yeah, race with us on iRacing. Also, I noticed all the content that we have of iRacing videos. So I mean, we're also streaming out. We do esports stuff with the Wide World of Motorsports esports team, which you can also check out all of our streams up on our website, the Wide World of Motorsports podcast.wordpress.com. All of our stuff is actually up there. Our podcast, everything's there. WOMS wise. So check that out. Now it's coming up in the Wide World of Motorsports. So, what's already happened that we've missed? So, check this out. Robert Wickens, fantastic in his practice. He ended up finishing up on the podium, which was a cool celebration for him, and seeing that and seeing him celebrate with the other drivers in that moment where he was able to really enjoy. He drank in that champagne, man. He enjoyed that. He was the talk all over the broadcasts all weekend, all over the track all weekend. And and then there's a chance that Robert did say he was basically going into it for the fact that he was going to win a championship. That was in mind, and that is huge for someone in a situation like that. And he showed that it could definitely be a possibility with him. He races in a Hyundai in the What do you got there? Well, so
Michelin
it's Michelin
Pilot
Pilot.
Sport
Yeah.
Cup Sport Challenge.
So be interesting to see how that plays out. And this also could open him up to some other opportunities eventually within some IMSA races. I know we've seen what's that fellow's name?
Alex Zanardi.
We've seen it technically possible that way in
Well,
IMSA,
so
so it could definitely be possible in this situation for
really
Robert.
interesting about the situation uh, with Robert is that Robert um, worked with another driver who raced in an Audi TCR car in the same series, and uh, he Stevens not Steven Simpson. What was the guy's name? I can't think of his name at the moment, but he was all paralyzed in the same way Robert was. So they would he actually worked with him quite a bit to see how it how the system would work, right? Because they use like almost it looks like a an e-brake or a handbrake for throttling and
Right.
braking or whatnot, and it's a version of his system, probably a little bit helped built by Max Pappas. I wouldn't be surprised because Max built his steering wheel for iRacing when Robert was doing the
Oh,
iRacing IMSA
cool.
challenge.
Really cool.
Yeah, so it's not unprecedented in this series to have somebody like Robert race, which is awesome.
Could pull up a little
And he's
picture
the
here
wheelman,
for.
and he's got a wheelman for a teammate, Mark Wilkins, who's a champion in that series as well, and Canadian. So that's even better that it's an all Canadian lineup.
Oh yeah, that too. So that's another interesting pull into the obviously for us, I mean being a Canadian podcast, real huge to see that, and we'll obviously get into that a little bit more later. It was a good weekend for Canadian race fans, in my opinion. But
Go Canada.
so another couple of things here. IMSA has a couple of different cars coming their way in the next couple of years. You had mentioned the GTP. Well, first off, GTP is coming back, and
The
sure,
name of GTP is coming back.
sure, and but
Which
so
is great
Porsche.
prototypes.
So what was the deal with Porsche there? And
So Porsche is entering the new global class of LMDH, which is Le Mans Daytona hybrid. I think that's what it stands for.
it stands for.
It's supposed to be. This is where the ACO and IMSA have come together to create common ground. IMSA, I don't think, is very interested in running hypercar, which is the top class in ACO, or what you would see run at Le Mans or in the World Endurance Championship. And Toyota is currently fielding two cars, and then we have Scuderia Cameron Glickenhaus fielding cars in this new class. So the big thing that is important to IMSA is brand, and we saw that with DPI. DPI was supposed to be the alliance with the ACO to put the cars together, but there were rules that both sides couldn't come together on, and eventually IMSA kind of did their own thing, which unfortunately meant that DPI couldn't go run at Le Mans. But now with these the LMDH cars, this is a true platform that can be played with anywhere around the world, no problem. It's going to have the proper BOP and everything like that. So Porsche has decided that they are going to field a car come 2023, and they have just released some spy shots of the car all up in camo. No idea if that's what the car is even going to look like, what spec it's running in. there's a whole lot of, I don't know, with the pictures that were released online. And then they've also come out and said that they're going to run a twin turbo V8, I believe, as their engine. So that's a really big deal. So expect Audi to follow behind them. Probably going to use the same engine. It's going to be rebadged differently. It's going to look a little different. It's going to have Audi markings and whatnot. And
Right.
then strong rumor that the next one that we're going to see will be using the same platform and engine will be Lamborghini.
Oh,
So, yeah, that's kind of been bouncing around. It's for a while actually. There was conversation that they were going to come into DPI, which is really this year's the last year for them. What we got to witness this past weekend, if you watched the 24 hour, but it just never worked for them. And with this new uh, set of regulations, and some of you may
which
know, some
comes
of you
in
may not,
2023.
that what's that? Sorry,
It comes in 2023.
2023. Okay.
It does. I'm asking you.
No, no, no. It should be 2022. So yeah,
Okay.
2023. Sorry, I'm
Right.
a year behind because it's still
It just changed.
January.
Yeah, it's still fresh.
But so and back to what I was saying, to see those three marks come into the series is really big news. But also, they're the same company, right? They all are owned by I think Volkswagen Group or whatever it's called. They own. So it's not surprising that you would see all three marquee manufacturers look to be involved in that, right? Because they all have GT counterparts, right? Porsche's got the 911, Audi's got the R8 Evo, which we didn't see this past weekend, but runs a lot in North America and Europe, but looking to have one on the grid this year at some point in IMSA. And then, of course, the Lamborghini
How about
Huracan
the
Evo, the one we
GT3
drove,
Mustang?
the GT. So the other one that was released that's coming to IMSA is this GT3 Mustang 2024. That's a long ways
Yeah, a
away.
little bit of a wait for this one, but it's gonna be sweet.
Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting. I'll be very curious as to what it'll look like, what kind of engine it's going to have. Um, I'm a little surprised to see Ford going this way a little bit, because the talks were that with them leaving GT, when they ran the Ford GT program with Chip Ganassi, that they were going to go to at at that point DPI, and then they were talking about DPI 2.0, which is now LMDH, technically. I'm surprised that they're not running or looking at running in prototype. Um, but then again, they build Mustangs, and it's the only car they build. And what better way to prove how good a Mustang is when it can go out on the racetrack and beat a Porsche or a
Right.
Corvette,
What
or a
about
Ferrari?
this roster of drivers that Ford has? Are they trying to keep to Ford drivers, keep it in house? Because I've noticed that within the Michelin Pilot Challenge, I believe with Deegan, and who was the other one there?
Mm.
Are they
It was,
trying to keep? And the same thing within NASCAR. Are they trying to keep all that stuff? Maybe a GT3 car would be something for those drivers that could be something that's doable, competitive to be be
that's
competitive, right?
right. That's interesting way to look at it. Um,
If
if
they
Ford,
stick to
if
just four drivers, but who knows if they just let other drivers in?
Yeah, if Ford's really concerned about keeping particular drivers in house or having um, a place for certain drivers to go, I guess I would say that this is kind of a big investment for just to have a place for a driver to go to, because who would you really be
Right.
to be trying to benefit here?
Yeah.
Haley Deegan. I don't think you'd really bust the budget on her. Even Austin Cindric, like I don't think those type of people, although good, are worth you know a whole program being developed just for them. Um, I think this is Ford's. That the saying still applies: race on Sunday, sell on Monday. And if Ford can go out and prove that their Mustang at a price of $60,000 or whatever they go for can run against a Corvette that costs $100,000, or a Porsche that's $180,000, or a Ferrari that's $300,000, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good advertisement, right? Like you can't beat that. Now, of course, that's not taking into account DOP and the reasons that the car would win, and that's a whole different story. But uh, you know, Ford's always been they're a racing company, right? They've always wanted to race. They've raced in NASCAR forever. Um, they've raced in sports cars
Oh,
for
this
a
is
very
good.
long
This is good
time.
timing. This is good timing to talk about this. We share this up on our social media. Um, you saw this? At the Tim
Uh,
Allen co-drove two Celine Ford Mustangs in the
yes.
1997 Rolex 24.
Yep.
Finishing the higher finishing car placed ninth in the GTS 2 class, and the team was called RRR Racing, but it was supposed to kind of be named after like the grunting noise
Yeah.
that he
Yeah.
makes in the show Home Improvement. So I can do it almost perfectly, but I don't know about you. But
I think you should do
I
it.
wonder if we get sued. If I don't even have
Now
any pressure.
he's
Would you
kind
think
of
we get?
there.
I hope. I hope Tim. You'd think Tim would love it,
If
because
you
he's
get
a
a
racing
letter
guy,
from a
right?
cease and dismiss
No,
letter,
you'd think he'd love it
um,
because he's a racing guy. But yeah, I love this. You'd think
yeah,
you'd
he's not
hope
gonna
so,
care.
but yeah, he's not gonna care. He's got other things to do that we know about. Just Google his name. There you go. I had to get one
Yeah,
in. It's
there you go.
taken down, or the guy on the YouTube moderator that's listening, taken down.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Well,
but hey, man, that's great. More manufacturers
yes, more
in
manufacturers
bigger,
are always a
maybe
good
another
are
bigger
always
field
good.
again. But wait, wow, what a big field during the weekend of the 24.
Yeah, it's a
The
big one.
biggest field since you. I thought you had that number.
Oh, it was like I think the biggest field they ever had was actually like 76 cars. I'm not sure what year that was. I believe it was
Hmm.
back in the 80s.
It was back in the 80s, man. We did
Go
stuff
on,
back
Jamie.
then. Um.
Find it, Jamie.
So there's a couple of tree things for this, the keys to this Daytona 24.
Hmm.
You wrote the article. No. That's all you, Haas. No. You did a good
Read them.
job on this one.
You
Up on
can.
our website, folks. Check that out. Wide World of Motorsports
Thank you.
podcast.wordpress.com.
I have other things up. I didn't have that up. What was the first one? The first one
Always, patience
was.
is key. Last minute
Oh
lunges
yeah,
into braking zones in the first 23 hours can only hurt.
it's true. I mean, it's the statement. You can't win the race on the first lap, but you can sure lose it. I mean, I hate that saying because it's just overdone, but it is so true. It is the true statement in motorsports, and nothing more true than when you're about to go race for 24 hours, that sometimes guys just do stupid things. Um, and we saw some, like, there was, remember Kobayashi at the Kamui at the beginning there, just dicing it, like weaving in and out through traffic, coming through turn one there. So
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
yeah, be
Which
patient.
happened lots throughout the 24 hours. Yeah, surviving through the night.
Yeah,
It was
and
cold. It was very
you know,
cold this year. They're all dressed up like it was like
yes,
winter.
it was cold. I think it got down to
It was close
like,
to
I think like
5 or 6,
six
from what I
Celsius.
heard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I mean, yes, that would be awesome right now, but
that's cold down there in
that's
Daytona,
cold. That's really
and
cold.
they're also in between two different
And
kind of oceans. So,
right.
so I mean, and with how we don't understand it up here in the north, but with how it works down there, it's crazy the weather down there. So of course that's cold, and up in those stands too, man. Oh my, it is
But we saw
bad.
and we saw it all night. We saw it all night long. Cars going
Tires,
off the
cold
track, coming
tires,
out of the pits.
as Dale
Cold
Jr. was
tires, cold
saying.
tires, cold tires, cold tires. I know
Cold
that
tires.
Michelin was warming tires up, so there is a tire warming ban in IMSA, right? You can't. You see it in Formula One. They put these tire blankets around the tires, right? And they,
Mm-hmm.
they hold them there right till the very last second to
Yeah.
get every degree possible in there. Well, you can't do that in IMSA. But Michelin recognized that this was going to be a problem, so they heated the tires or warmed
Oh,
the
isn't that
tires
nice of
before
them?
they put them. It was very nice of them
Heated
because they put
tires.
blankets on them.
Ah.
Just actually, they warmed them up before they put them on the rims, and then the tires went out
What
to
do
the
they? How do
car.
they do
So,
that? Throw them in the microwave, or?
just pretty much. No, they just have heaters. Like, they'd put it in the
Right.
rim. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
sidebar, quick sidebar about heating tires. Tire blankets and tire warmers are also illegal or not allowed in WEC competition or ACO competition, particularly at Le Mans. So what they do, instead of, because they can't put a blanket around them, they actually build these um, warming booths. So they have these, like, and I'm not joking, they're like these plywood containers that they stack all the tires in, and they put electric heaters in them, and then they just close. They just
Damn,
close them.
that's thinking.
I mean, or you know what? Another one is, you'll see it with guys who kart, like karting, go karting racing. You again, you can't heat your tires, but you'll see two things. You'll see them putting them in the trailer with an electric heater in the middle of summer, or laying them out in the sun to get them hot before they put them on the cart. Anyways,
Oh.
so
Okay.
my third point for the weekend was communication is crucial. From the pit box to the car and back, what the track's like, weather conditions, and race conditions are all key to a successful race. I didn't see anybody having that much miscommunication on track or on pit road. Um, we really didn't have even that much miscommunication on the track, like, as the way of big wrecks. We had one coming out of turn 6 or 7, I can't remember, whatever that turn is, coming out into NASCAR 2 with Kenny Hibbel, um, and there's a couple other cars involved in that. I think it was his fault. I'm not saying he did anything wrong. I'm not sure what happened there. I know they were blinded by the light, coming into that corner, and that could have just been what caused the accident. But there weren't any real big somebody's fault accidents. To be completely honest with you, I think that might have been the only one. I'm trying to think back now. There's a few little rough and tumbles, but
Oh
that was
yeah.
the biggest. That was the biggest one.
Um. some other moments that we can take away from the 24, because obviously there's so much that happens and can only can only track so much, and with how broadcasting works and whatnot, it would be pretty tough to be able to try to cover everything that goes on. And I saw that a lot of comments about that on social media, and some race fans saying, hey, they wish, especially on the NBC broadcast, they wish they were able to see some of the other racing going on and some of the other classes at the end there. And you made a good point about that. Obviously, with what they show on TV, they got it. You kind of got to show those main things, right? And even I noticed even that on the IMSA, there's so much going on at once, especially in the last few laps. There's so
Yeah.
much you only got so many camera guys. Only got so many guys in the booth. You only got so many commentators. Things just get.
Yeah.
And this was a good 24. It was a very exciting. It was a dogfight for that. What was it? The GT3
GTD
class,
Pro.
GT Pro. That's so
I
that
know, there's quite a few.
is so I misnamed that on the. I missed a misnamed that on the website. I did Epic Finish in GTD, so that was GTD Pro, or GT.
Yes.
So I was correct actually. GTD.
It is GTD. What I dislike about the class, man, it's so complicated. It is.
I'm
Because
getting a grasp of it though.
they have GTD Pro and then GTD. And I don't know why they don't just call it GT Pro and GT Am. But they want to keep the Daytona in there, right? GT Daytona.
You're right.
Right? Daytona prototypes. That's why they can't call them Daytona prototypes, because the LMDHs. This is one of the reasons why I think they're bringing back the moniker of GTP, Grand Touring Prototype, is because they are LMDH. Because when you go race them in Europe and Asia, wherever, they're always going to be LMDH, but they'll run in different classes, right? They might, in some places, they might call them LMDH, the LMDH class, but IMSA's very brand. Like, they need that brand. That's why you
Okay.
see Cadillacs in there, and that's why Porsche wants to come run it. That's why Audi wants to come run it, and that's why Lamborghini and Ferrari, and that's why all these teams want to come run IMSA, because it's very brand and they really push that. But and then they want to keep that IMSA-ness to it. So that's one of the reasons why they're going to call it
Which is
GTP.
why it's awesome. Yeah.
But they always that's why it's GT Daytona. Again, we went on a tangent, but I know it's complicated.
But
GTD. What's funny is I should be the one that gets in trouble, because I'm looking at the picture that I posted when I posted about Faf and their win, and I need to edit this because that car is wrong, because GTD Pro has red winglets or wing end plates and red mirrors, and GTD has green. And the picture I put up of the Faf Porsche.
yeah, I changed the
green.
Twitter picture.
That is, you know what? I hang my head in shame.
I
There's
couldn't
no
change
excuse
that
for that.
post. I tried to change it, but he had to repost it, and we're not about the likes, but we had lots of our followers engage with that post, so I didn't want to. Yeah. So that's why I could. Hey, Wallace, it's all good.
I'm
Because you know
sorry.
what? I'm sorry.
I'm
You stupid.
sorry.
No, because the WOMs, our followers didn't notice, and they didn't mind. They enjoyed that little update from you there.
And
So
I'll put my hand up. I'll put my hand up on my mistakes too.
there you
Realized that.
go. But so
Anyway, sorry.
going on with some of the things that we, us being so blessed and lucky to have this podcast. We sit down and we kind of notate some things.
Thank you, L. Ron Hubbard.
And we kind of go, hey, you know what? Like, we're gonna talk about this on the show. So this is some of the stuff that we put down for our listeners and viewers and followers out there, for the folks. Uh, some of this going into the weekend, I'll be honest, a lot of this stuff, a lot of stuff was it was interesting to see because you could think about it before the race and it ended up
Hmm.
playing out, and there was the aftermath, and there was a lot of cool stuff that even I could have not predicted, but I could have written down going into this weekend, knowing how good it was going to be, and obviously wouldn't be my personal favorite choice, but for a lot of people, the Wayne Taylor Racing squad going for their fourth consecutive win. Obviously,
Yeah.
we know it didn't happen. And when I could tell from them, there was a couple. I think they had a couple of oopsies throughout the 24 hours. I think they're also good though at keeping quiet, keeping out of stuff generally, and
Yes.
playing through the long game, and they did it again. They did that at least,
They did almost again.
almost, but they weren't able to execute ultimately. And as you were saying earlier, especially with the final laps, it was looking like it was going to be a close one. Um,
Y- Yeah, you know what? It really was that last safety car that I feel kind of screwed them up. So a bunch of the cars back up, and I thought, okay, they're bunched back up. This is going to be Ricky's chance. Wayne Taylor's son, one of Wayne Taylor's sons, uh, um, driving the car for the last stint there. I thought Ricky was definitely going to be able to find a way by Elio. What's interesting, and I was thinking about it, was that Elio and Ricky were teammates at Penske in the same car, so they both know exactly how each other drive because they spent 2-3 years watching each other's data.
mm-hmm.
Um, Not only that, it's reinforced by the fact that they're driving the cars they spent 2 or 3 years watching the data on. Um, and it was really looking to be like a GTD esque finish at the end of the race there. But Elio did what Elio does and wheeled it. He wheeled it and pulled out a good little margin on Ricky to take that 24-hour victory for Meyer Shank Racing.
He so out of he, I mean, second place. I mean, I know what Wallace says about second place, but
Screw second.
but they're able to, out of the DPIs, which especially towards the last few hours, we ended up seeing a few of them fall off,
Hmm.
especially with some of the mishaps with the 48 and with the other Cadillac racing team
Chip Ganassi.
Chip Ganassi and
So Chip
how
Ganassi was the last one to go to have the streak that Wayne
right
Taylor was trying to break. So,
with
anyways,
for Action Express, their two cars, the Ally Cadillac, which we'll get to in a bit. Are they
hmm
both Ally?
no, the other one's the Wheeling Engineering.
Sorry, so the
So,
wheel in is the one that had a little upsie at one point, but they were able to come back a little bit better than the Ally Cadillac did.
so the difference, I don't know why that is. Both cars had some really stout drivers in them. Um, the difference is that the the 31 car has done that more. I don't know if it's all the same guys from the number 5 on the 48, but I'm not sure. So I would always expect, and the 31 does really well there. Like that's a good track. They're always in competition. I mean, they
Right.
were last year's series champ. So to count them out for the race would be not right.
And while we're in while we're in the sorry, while we're in talking about the DPIs, and we can also mention the Ben Keating deal. He and his team with the JOC Motorsports, JDC Motorsports,
JDC Miller Motorsports.
JDC Miller Motorsports. Is that the Mustang sampling?
That yes, that is the number 5
Correct.
Mustang sampling.
So so Ben Keating finishing third
The
in
amateur.
there, and then maybe we can switch over to his other. He run the LMP2?
Yeah, he ran an LMP2, which he's been known to do. Like this, it's not unusual for Ben to run in this category. He did run a lot in GT cars. Like, so Ben Keating used to run Vipers. He owns Viper Exchange from Texas, a big, huge car dealer. Owns like, I don't know, a ton of Ford dealerships. Anyways, he drove for what is the name of the team? Oh my goodness. PR1 Matheson Motorsports. So his co-drivers were Nicholas Lapierre, Mikkel Jensen, and Scott Huffaker, who is an ace behind the wheel. And they finished 4th in LMP2, 8th overall. So he got a 3rd place and a 4th place.
Which is pretty. I think it's so cool. I just think it's so cool.
That's not the first time he's done
right,
this.
Right. But I dig someone that wants to kind of go that extra length, and
for sure.
That is,
and he's not a young guy.
You know, just the idea of thinking this guy could win 2 watches in one race. And you know what? That's also a lot on the body too. You know, this guy, he's obviously probably put a lot of time in for even more extra time than maybe most people would for training to race 2. Now they're not completely all that different, right? But you know, you got a different field. You got a different competition in both, while also having the same competition at the same time in a way.
Well, at one point, when he was in the number 5 JDC Miller Motorsports car, he was in 7th, and I believe it was Nicholas Lapierre was in the LMP2 in 7th, right behind him. So he was battling the car, his full season car. So he's going to run full season in LMP2. I think he's just did the 24 with JDC Miller, but so he was not only was he racing 2 cars, but he was battling with his own car in his own car.
Right. But with all this, because the LMP, the DPs, out of the both, obviously the race was a little bit more interesting in the DPI. But so how about the LMP3s? Is that the class Team Nederland is in?
No, Team Nederland is in is in the LMP2s,
and they finished up in
2nd.
Yeah. So they got a podium. That's good. The whole
that's
Dutch
awesome.
team.
That's great for them.
Seeing Cole, obviously, was seeing them kind of stick through all the crap that happened through the race. All the cautions that happened, man. Cautions were just breeding cautions.
Yes. And that happens.
Spread like a wildfire.
Yes.
It's going to spread like a wildfire.
And to go with the cautions was penalties.
Right.
There was a lot of penalties. A lot of speeding in the pits. There was a couple improper wave by procedure.
Right.
You know, there was a lot, but it just seemed like there was a lot.
Oh, absolutely, and that's because
after every pit stop there was one.
Right, and what sometimes people don't get especially people who are new to IMSA, is there's so much organization that they have to do, and obviously with how Daytona is, um, it's a big track, but I'm sure like obviously they race that bigger, but just imagine what it's like at those tracks sorting out the uh, the different classes from pitting and whatnot and
Yeah.
rearranging the field. It'll take and including on top of them having to go around wrecked cars or debris or safety vehicles or whatever that happens. And I, not that it takes them a long time to do it in IMSA. The safety workers, I think, are the same safety workers that are doing the NASCAR stuff, anyways. Um, but there's, it's if you're coming in as a fan from a different motorsport too. Like, I mean, these cars maybe might be a little bit more hard to clean up. I noticed there's just a lot of crap a lot of plastic, or well, not plastic, or maybe yeah. There's just a
Carbon.
lot of a lot of crap that goes all over the track. And at one point, we even saw a wreck later on in the race Sunday morning. It was or sorry, that was the beginning of the race on Saturday. I think a piece of
Hmm.
debris hit a safety worker coming out.
Hmm.
Driver was coming in at five, and so which they are okay, which is good by the way. But
Yes.
it was interesting because the one fella on the IMSA broadcast is like, he's like, oh, I hope it's very safe, very quiet day for you guys today. And then freaking
Yeah.
5 minutes later, that happens.
That
But yeah,
happens. Yeah.
so there, and with that, I mean, there's a lot of stuff on pit road that happens, and with the penalties and whatnot too, there was a lot of that for sure. It did quiet down eventually, though. There wasn't as many cautions in the end of the race. Obviously, there's only a couple
No,
hours to go.
they went almost 6 hours. They went like 6 hours, almost seven
Right,
hours, caution free.
right. And with the field, I mean, with only a couple hours to go in the race, there was still 40 some odd cars still in the race.
Mhm.
Um, and man, it was a zoo in a lot of situations. That's for sure. Throughout the race, a couple.
Well,
So
you got three different classes, four different classes, all battling at four different speeds, and some of them, the slower ones are sometimes quicker in the spots that the fast ones are a little bit slower in. So it can sometimes um, play havoc on the racetrack.
out of the 12 IndyCar drivers in the field, um, obviously the one that did the best is the one with the watch.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
but
Simon
go
Pagenaud.
help. Let's go through some of the so many IndyCar drivers repping
Yeah,
this year at
there's
IMSA. Let's go through that here quick.
well, we had well, actually we had two. Sorry, I two. We had Simon Pagenaud
Oh,
and Elio.
right, right.
Because Elio is racing for Meyershank Racing this year, and
No
in
misinformation on Spotify,
IndyCar.
Wallace. No misinformation on
That's
Spotify.
right. Sorry. So that's pretty impressive with Elio. Just to speak on that, he's won an Indy 500 for Mike, and for Mayor Shank Racing, and he's now won a 24-hour for him. Obviously with three other drivers, but he's just done that. So Elio and Simon are of course number one. Um, then in second, actually, you had Alexander Rossi driving for Wayne Taylor Racing. He runs with that squad quite often. Um, so that's pretty good. That's three out of the top 12. Um,
Well, we know one out of the
three of the
12
12 drivers on the top podium
right
are
there.
IndyCar
Right.
drivers. So
And
that's
there
quite
was a which other ones are there that you can tell out real quick just throw out the list. Which are some of the
uh,
ones that didn't have a good time?
I didn't have a good time. I don't know. We had Pato Award and Colton Herta. They finished fifth. The champ didn't have a very good day racing with Scott Dixon, Sebastian Bourdais, and Ranger Van de Zander and Cadillac Racing, which is Chip Ganassi. They finished in 14th. That's Alex Pillow. And coming down here, Austin Cindric, NASCAR ace or soon to be ace. He finished in 23rd.
What about one of the other IndyCar drivers we hadn't mentioned, who could have easily been up there in a top 3 situation? Jimmy Johnson. In his
how did I miss that?
Jimmy Jam at Rolex, man. He has an array of things to take away from the 2022 Rolex 24.
Quickly, how cool was it to see Chad?
Man, obviously that's great to see. Especially just to think that he's still his crew chief. Like, they never stopped. Like, I remember a couple years ago when Chad left. Well, when they separated, maybe there wasn't a left situation at all. Well, he left to go get a better position, a better job, but
he moved.
He moved up, you know. But
moved up.
A lot of people thought it was kind of like it wasn't a good separation. And ultimately, like, obviously, as we could see, it was no problem at all. I mean, he's his crew chief in IMSA, which we've seen him do a few times last year, and obviously he's into it this year with at Action Express, and that involves the other teammates too. That's not just Jimmy's crew chief. Like, he was chiefing with the other drivers as well. It's cool seeing him chat with Kamui and whatnot. And
so, quick conspiracy and question for
you. Watch the conspiracies on Spotify, Wallace. We're on Spotify.
I'm sorry.
You got to watch the conspiracies.
I know. This one's a good one though. Do we see Hendrick Motorsports entering IMSA with an LMDH Cadillac? Is this setting up for that?
I don't know. That's crazy. Tinfoil hat. You got your tinfoil hat on. A little too tight.
What is it? Is it crazy?
We'll see.
Chad's there. Jimmy's there. You hear lots of other guys go in NASCAR say, I want to do the 24-hour. It's kind of, you know what? It's kind of a NASCAR thing. As much as some NASCAR people aren't going to like to admit that.
It totally
24 has always been a NASCAR thing.
Well, even IMSA is.
IMSA has been. You look through the history of IMSA. I mean, Action Express, the 31 and the 48, that team way back in the day when it was the Grand Am series, or there's lots of iterations that happened there. Anyways, that team is originally supported and started by the France family. And then it got sold later on.
Interesting.
So there is a lot of NASCAR history and heritage in what Jimmy's doing, and just in that sports car racing in general.
Well, even with IMSA being basically co-founded by
it's owned
Brian
by
France. Oh yeah. And still
right,
is, and some of the tracks they run at are owned by or someone involved with NASCAR. But which kind of coincides to the NBC for another year, all this crazy NASCAR crossover, which is obvious. We talked about that on the last year's 24. We noticed it, and then now even noticing it this year with. Obviously, they're trying to get that different, totally trying to get the NASCAR crowd into IMSA, even though there was like next to no reputation. But when they say there was no reputation, I was like, well, hello, Jimmy's a 7-time champ. Like he's a 7-time NASCAR Cup champ. He's running in. It's like that's good enough representation right there.
Well, and not only that, now you're getting Dale Jr. in on the broadcast. right?
Oh
You're
yeah, Jeff
getting
Burton was there. Steve
and Jeff
Letarte was
Burns,
doing stuff.
100%. There you go. So it's just they're really
Hinch was doing great too in the booth
and
on
you know what?
NBC.
That also speaks to the strength of the sport and where it's going. I am such an advocate for IMSA. It's ridiculous. I
Yeah,
wish I wish
you've gotten people into it.
I
I can attest that
yeah.
this guy's gotten people into IMSA. Like it's
And I
true.
just want
It's true.
I want you to give it a chance because it's good racing. It's great
Oh
racing.
yeah, absolutely. And
Um,
I was all over it. And for me, with my tie-in with it, and maybe at one point it was a lot. But when you're one of your favorite race car drivers is in a race, you're gonna focus on them a lot. So I kind of
for
felt
sure.
bad once Jimmy biffed it. I was just like, I'm going to bed. I felt bad
No,
doing
but
that,
it's
but it
hard.
was
No, it's
also I
hard though,
wanted to go
right?
as
It's your
long as I
driver.
could through the night, but it was tough. He had an array of things to take away from that, and his first race of 2020 two was looking great. His first stint was awesome. He had a
Hmm.
fantastic first stint. He was able to
Car
take
is
the car
fast too.
from his teammate Kamui Kobe. He had an excellent start in the first hour. He had the best start of the first hour. He ended up was the leader.
Hmm.
There was a point at the 22-hour 45-minute mark where Sebastian Bourdais, I'm going to call it, bombed, and he was probably just hot. He was just going in hot into turn one, and clips
Sebas.
Lopez Marie. What was this? What's his first name?
Jose Maria
Jose Maria
Lopez
Lopez in the right
from
rear,
the Argentine province.
which was caused some damage on the diffuser. However, everything was okay. The laps were running consistent still. Um, and there was also a point where when Lopez, after he got fresh tires, he went into the pit, came out, ran hot into seven, and made a
Hmm.
crazy maneuver to avoid the bear, which that could have caused it for them right there. But they handed the car over to Jimmy. It was a great. They had a great piece with 19 hours, 8 minutes to go. And as I
Hmm.
said, he did very well. He was only a couple seconds off the rest of the team about his average lap. He was about 138. During a yellow, there were a couple times where he came down to have the rear ring assembly and the bumper assessed. They looked at it. They decided they need to replace it. I love in IMSA when I
Mm.
see them pull out these pieces and seeing them up on the side ready to go. And it's cool how they have it planned out. They have it choreographed. So
Hmm.
cool when they put the pieces on and off, and it's like it's very effective and efficient. It amazes me how
Well, you know,
smart it is. How they figured out how to lift it up a certain way. They have a couple guys
mhm.
doing this. They're all coordinated.
So the other cool thing about that is that sometimes, and you'll see it more at Le Mans, that when they go into the night hours, they want a different aero setup on the car, right? So they can run a higher downforce because the air's thinner and whatnot, right? So instead of getting onto out there with your little spanner wrench and adjusting the wing angle and adding an extra, gurney flap or whatever you want on it, they just set the nose and wing that's sitting there, and the car comes in and they pull off the nose they don't want. They put their new nose on with all the settings already on it. They do it to the rear so they can do a arrow change um, quickly and effectively.
And they did quite the job at that. During the two times where at least they came down. It was just all it took was two pit stops, rear wing and front bumper for them before they
Hmm.
replaced. Um, Obviously, the first thing I thought when I was watching that with Jimmy in the car, and I wonder if Jimmy thought this too, and Chad up in the box. Wonder if they thought at some point where it was like, wow, where was this all those years in the Cup Series?
Hmm.
Where just imagine how many more chips that they could have got if they're just able to do that.
Well, it's coming.
Man, that'd be sweet.
The
Actually, I
new
would
one will
not. I
be
would
able to
not.
do
I
that.
would nothing. No, I would nothing in me would be against that. But upon the restart, though, he was able to, And explain this one. He was unable to catch up to the rear of the DPI field. He had to race through plenty of GTs and LMPs, as well
Right.
as. So what was the deal with that? Why? What? Yeah, what happened there?
So I'm guessing. So in IMSA competition, they do a split. Um, so if there's a leader, they try to not have the cars intermixed, right? So you don't have like a prototype and then a GT car and then a different prototype, like a like an LMP3, and then two GT cars and then an LMP2, right? They don't want that intermingling of the cars because it's
Right.
dangerous, right? You're asking for trouble. So they split the field. So they give they give the slower cars waiver rounds, and that way they can, if the cars are ahead of their respective leaders, they let them pass the pace car. They get their lap back, and then they filter into the back of the field, right?
Right.
So that way everybody stays on the laps. Well, then they'll do a class split. So then they'll say, okay, DPs, you need to move forward, and you're gonna,
Right.
number 48, you're gonna be behind, the number 10. So all you'll see all the DPs pull out, and they'll pass all the GT cars, all the LMP3s, all the LMP2s, and they'll just get back in line. So you could still be 3 laps down. You could have made, this is a crazy thing, just like NASCAR. You could have been a lap down. Boom. You get to go around the whole field, and now you've made up your lap and all the leaders 4 car lengths in front of you. That's just kind of how it happens. So,
Right.
um, what happened was when they were doing those pit stops, because I remember this, because there was that one point where they pulled the car in, the guy went out to the car and came back in, but they didn't do anything to the car, or they went and looked at the rear, right?
Right.
Got
Yes.
down and looked
Yes.
at
I
the
remember
rear,
that too.
and then
Yeah.
went back out. He missed the class split. So if you miss the class split, then you got to start at
Oh.
the back.
Oh. Ouch. Well, that was a bit of a costly mistake, but at the same time, it wasn't though. But it was because Jimmy was able to. I wonder if someone got that up on YouTube or something like that. That was some wheeling. I was watching his onboard cam, and wow, just him catching up through even just the yellow. He was going through all these cars like crazy, just trying to catch up. But then once the green went, still working his way through GTs, and then ultimately ending up avoiding a wreck just in the S's coming out of one between two other cars. I had to go through the grass. I was just saying that to myself, being someone who was a frequent on iRacing. I was like, wow, I would take that uh, off track 1X. Like, no problem, Like, no problem with that. It was a good call, good wheeling by Jimmy, getting
Mm-hmm.
through the grass there. He did some epic wheeling, man. At the 17-hour, 29-minute mark, he hopped out of the car with the first stint in 2022 and showed that he's here to race. Kobe Lopez and Rockenfeller did well in their stints while Jimmy rested. Kobe got the 48 back up to P1. Enjoyed a good amount of laps leading in the class and field. Jimmy got back with 15 hours to go. Shortly after the 14th hour, however, there was some contact with another car due to a tire puncture in the S's and
Mm.
ultimately broke the suspension of the number 48. And at that
Wah,
point,
wah,
all hopes
wah.
for the Rolex will have to wait till 2023. Um, he was able to get the
And
car.
Hendrick Motorsports calling it.
Yeah, he was able to get the car back to pit road though pretty well. They were able to fix it, and at that point it was up to the rest of the team to do what they could do to salvage what they can. There was a couple other points throughout the night that was kind of rough for them, but Jimmy got back in the car at the 3 hour 55 mark and try to shake off some cobwebs, but there's he had a couple other spinouts too with cold tires coming to the pits at one point even. But he was in the car for a long time. He ended up getting another car with like an hour 45 or something like that left. Um, under 2 hours actually. So he had a lot of takeaways going into the next race, which I believe is Sebring, if not mistaken. He's running Sebring,
Yes.
yeah. So that'll be in
Yes.
March for him. So he's got some. He's got some cons. He's got some pros to take. He's got some stuff to weigh out going into that. He's obviously focused on the IndyCar season, obviously, but nonetheless, though, Jimmy,
Yeah.
thumbs up. I'll give him a thumbs up. Give him a thumbs up for that. His performance in the 24.
It's a
Um,
team sport,
yep. He's got a good
despite
team
what anybody
too.
says.
Go Kobe. So for some other points here, as we start to look at wrapping up some of our talk here on the 24, Meyer Shank Racing.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, this is you, all you.
Yeah, I was really impressed with them this weekend. I did a little. Some of you may have read it. I did a little blurb about my top three moments of the weekend. Um, what I wanted to put in the blurb, I didn't because I didn't know how it would have come across. Mike's Mike's team has been one of those teams that have been in IMSA forever and struggled at times. And th- this is a popular win. This is great. And what I love about this win is it just backs up the Indy 500 win. Like these aren't flukes. This is a strong team.
Right. Um, I
So
thought they
yeah,
did good.
I've always been
I
I've
yeah.
I'm excited to see them go for the rest of the year, and I'm really excited to see them run IndyCar this year again. So that's great. Um, with staying on that theme, I was very impressed with the Acuras. Um, we saw the Cadillacs dominate the beginning of that race. And over half of that race, I would say the Cadillacs dominated. I mean, you talked about the 48 being in the lead, the 31 was in the lead at one point, the 5 was in the lead at one point. Um, and the Acuras were really good on the beginning. They had this really good like pounce, and then they just kind of faded out. And then they stuck to it, right? They Acuras had a plan. They ran. They battled through the night and into the day, and I think the track changes really helped the Acuras. You saw a lot of low end torque and good grip out of the corners from the Cadillacs, and they were pulling away due to the weight and that big V8 they have back there. And through the night of running and laying down rubber, it turned to an accurate advantage. And then, of course, we come to the biggest thing, I think, of the entire 24-hour, wouldn't you say?
The the yeah the FAF versus the
The KCMG
yes.
Porsche. So,
That I think everyone could agree with that one.
yeah, Faf, the team from the Plaid Porsche, the team from Canada, our local heroes, just to Oakville, a couple hours away from where I am. Um, they I would say they were the favorites to win this year. They won last year. They won the championship last year. This is a great team. So and they ran. The last we were saying the last seven. They ran like 7 hours or 6 hours last night, or through the
The
night.
other night.
Green the other night.
Right.
So it all runs in together. Green, and these two cars, the FAF Porsche and the KCMG Porsche, ran nose to tail. I think in the last 6 hours of that race, maybe due to pit stop cycles, I don't know, but I don't think they were really truly more than a second apart. I mean, they matched lap times with each other. They matched pit stops with each other. Matthew Jaminet said the last 2 hours he was driving the fast that race were the most stressful he's ever had in a race. Um, they came down, I think, with about 2 laps to go. Lawrence Van Tour was driving the KCMG Porsche, made a little move on Mathieu going through turn one, and they had some bumping and grinding, and kind of said to Mathieu, this is how we're finishing this race. And they come by, they got with the KCMG in front for the white flag. They battle hard all the way down into the newly named Le Mans chicane, and isn't it a short track Saturday night?
That's what I was gonna say.
Bang and move.
Yes.
Nobody giving an inch.
Yeah.
Into the corner, dirt flying, cars sideways, and the fast Porsche came out pointing in the right direction and took the win for the 24-hour win, which is, of course,
and initially it looked sketchy.
Win among it did.
It looked really sketchy, and then they showed that replay, and it was like it was two guys going into the bus stop or Le Mans corner,
Le Mans chicane,
and then going. They're going for a win, and it was like a game of chicken, and it was like who's gonna break first. Like I feel like they would have, They just imagine it would just say they both wrecked each other out. Yeah, they didn't, but
I would love to hear the conversation between the two of them after that race. I really hope it was.
They apparently, apparently it was.
Through that incident, the KCMG Porsche actually got passed by the Risi Competizione Ferrari and finished second. So, finished third. Sorry.
Right. I forget what driver it was.
They lost second, finished third. They didn't get the win, but.
One of the drivers, I think it was what's his face? The guy who was driving, obviously, is the one that said I read a little blurb from him on Twitter. It was like he would have done the same thing, kind of deal. Like he has no hard feelings or anything. He said it's zero hard feelings towards him.
Good.
And because that's like we're saying they're going that to
they've been teammates before.
And they're both factory teams, right?
They're both Porsche factory drivers.
So even then, you're kind of still like,
great race.
But yeah, and that was a great way to finish it. Like we said a little bit earlier, it was looking like it was going to come down to an awesome finish with the DPIs, but it just ultimately didn't end up being that way. That finish between the Porsches there was the best, and overall, we're looking back at everything here to kind of wrap that up. It was being with, probably one of my favorite, and how would you call it? But it would be one of my favorite Rolexes I've seen, probably the best one I've seen. What would you say?
I would say it was up there. There was some moments of boredom, but you know what? Every race has that. I would say it's probably top 3 favorite Rolexes.
Nice. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's some good.
Say that. That's
that pulls some good weight.
It was good. It would there.
Oh yeah.
And you know what? What really made that race awesome as well was there was, and because I'm a bit of a technical guy when it comes to this stuff, the strategy that was being played out with tires. They were scuffing tires in. That's why you would see them pit for fuel and get tires. They were running tires in so they'd be good for the night. I mean, working the tire in. There was some really cool strategy work at play.
Yeah.
It was there was lots going on. It was a great race.
It's got me pumped for the rest of the season. And after a bit of, obviously, you working on me a little bit over the last year or so since we've got you on board here, you've worked me a little bit into the sports car racing in IMSA, and especially after our iRacing at 24. That was like, you got me into that on iRacing, And then now we're at that point where I was like, I watched the Roar before the 24, and I was like, wow, I'm so into this. And same thing during that whole race is like I only slept for a few of the hours. I was glued to the TV for the first half of the race. Like I just watched the whole. It was great. I think I think especially looking forward to the next race, and also with our involvement with on iRacing with our esports team, with our involvement with the endurance racing on there, and we're gonna probably end up running all the tracks that they run in real life anyways, and with Sebring coming up, you know, we're going to be practicing with Sebring, and that's also so I'm definitely pumped. I cannot wait until Sebring in March 12th. March 12th, I think, weekend of or something like that, or is that Indy
March 19th.
or March 19th?
Real Sebring is March 19th, so I would assume that the weekend before that, like always in iRacing, is the iRacing version of that event.
Right. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I cannot wait to see what continues on after the Rolex 24. Hey man, you know, fuck, they got good stuff going on in their series. Excited for that. But we got so much coming in between now and then. IndyCar is gonna start. They're gonna have their practice in about a month's time. You already see St. Pete starting to get built up. We're going to slowly start hearing some IndyCar news coming up, I'm sure. Also with the with NASCAR Cup, or all of NASCAR, I guess. You know, it's cool to see. We've said this before in other podcasts, but it's cool to see tracks being prepared or built. It kind of gets you going. It was just in the last week or so they started laying down the dirt in Bristol. And obviously with a lot, oh yeah, gotta get it already. Well, they'll be racing on it, I think, before the Cup gets to it, because
they got
big lots of stuff comes by. Oh yeah, that's always that was fun to watch last year. So it'll be fun, probably assuming it'll be fun again this year. We saw obviously a lot of preparation with the track at the Coliseum. It's just about finished. For the Clash on February 6th, which everyone's obviously, of course, excited for.
I don't think you're excited for that.
There's the Super Bowl, which we obviously don't care about, and then there's Daytona. So for a lot of people, stuff's rolling back in. It's going to be a good next month for TV. As for the question on the Clash, I acknowledge the sarcasm, and I reflect it back at you. I chose to ignore that. But no, you're good. Just busting balls over here. No, so... Oh, man, yeah. Lots of details have come out regarding what's going on with specifics to, like, rules and details behind, you know, what's going to be the TV schedule. And also some other details like race format, and you got even some financial details that came out. You know, where to start? I think the first start got to be asked. Flag stand. The flag stand will be a scissor lift in the infield at start finish.
Safe.
And yes,
that's crazy.
And so there's boxes also on the infield, right in the center of the track almost, and those boxes, those will help stage cars prior to heats, last chance qualifier, and also a work area if the car has a flat or something, or if there needs to be something repaired quick. There will be a way they can do that. It kind of reminds me of at the Chili Bowl in some sense when I was watching. They have like a little area, like a little side area, like that someone can they could pull off to, and they can just make some quick adjustments. I'm guessing that's kind of what that'll be. I'm wondering how it's gonna. It's like Gilligan's Island though. I wonder how they're gonna. Will there be like maybe a set of pit boxes in there with basic stuff? Maybe we'll see. Judging off of what that sounds like,
will it be where the like short track racing where the teams hook their pit box to a quad and tow it into the infield for the race and then tow it back out?
Well, so
How we
the
got
thing
gold.
is there won't actually be any pit stops. They won't need gas.
No, I know.
Yeah, yeah. But for
No,
our
but I know,
listeners who
but
don't
they.
know,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and teams will get 6 minutes during halftime break to make adjustments. So that'll be,
I
I
know,
guess, as long as
I
Ice
know.
Cube is playing. Um, quarter-mile track. There's the, you know, you'd lose a lot of laps for a big fix. But with caution laps not counting, I wonder how all that'll all go down. Um, yeah, caution laps will
I'm
not count, which will be a concept familiar to some people who frequent their local short tracks.
my hand. You can't see it, but my hand's up.
What? What's up?
No, it's because I frequent my local short tracks.
Oh, so I thought
So I'm
it
like,
was like in
you can't.
class. Like you have a question?
No,
um,
no. I thought
uh,
you
I thought
said
you
I
said I
was
was all
already.
right. So and other interesting stuff too coming behind some news about like I guess so from what I am reading from a couple different verified sources on Twitter as well as a NBC article for the guy on Spotify listening, making sure we're not misinforming anybody,
Mm.
and also the YouTube guy too, and other people who we don't know about. But anyway, so NASCAR. With the deal with the cars, I guess there's a little bit of a shortage, or the demand for parts is so high, so that there
Okay.
are
Can I
actual
just pause you
official
for a
wordings.
second?
Yeah, what's up?
Okay. Wasn't there a guy on a podcast last week,
Well, I told you we'll
literally
see.
just talking about? I'm just saying. I'm just.
I told you we'll see.
Continue. Continue.
We haven't
Continue
seen
your
yet,
story.
but
We haven't seen yet.
so there's some talks about teams have like how they should have their Clash car available, and to also be able to get at Daytona if they don't bring it back up to Daytona, or have their Auto Club car they could send to Daytona in a pinch because they're going to Auto Club after, right? So teams have said they
Hmm.
expect to have 3 to 4 cars ready by the start of Daytona, and then so there's some situations where teams might be bringing one car to Daytona. There might be a backup car available for. I don't know how they're going to figure that out, but that is the situation that some of the teams. I don't know what teams are in for
All of them.
a lot of
All
stuff
of them.
from anything from all over the car basically. So and that I think that was from where I'm reading this is from Childers from Procris. So that's a pretty good verified source. But yeah, so that's yeah. And then if it's for them, then yes, it's going to be for all of them. And what we'll see though how that goes. That's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out in the next month. And we'll definitely keep our ear on the street for that one.
Hmm.
So a couple other different things here to mention. The entry list and format has been popped up. They're gonna sort out the qualifying by the single car qualifying. They're gonna sort out by the points from last year. They're gonna invert it, so I'll be meaning Kyle Larson will be the last car to qualify, and there'll be 6 total hours broadcast on TV. So that qualification will be on FS1. But yeah, there's going to be tons of that shown on TV, and then FS2 will take I think one of the heat races on Saturday, and then Fox I think takes the rest throughout Sunday. So, but it's interesting to see. They got the heat races split out in 4 different heat races, and there's a 2 last chance qualifier races where they take the top 4. And then that will be who makes the big show 150 lap race. So from heat 1 through 4 though they'll be taking the top 4 from each heat, and then that's how they'll bring them over into the main event. So there's gonna be people not making the show. Now that's
Which is
given
kind of
that
cool.
there's 1 through 40 cars. So what we're all have to see how it plays out. It's gonna be interesting. They do have an interesting entry list here though. There's 36 cars up on that list. So this ain't no BS little show. I mean, this is big. So I remember we were thinking at one point there's just going to be like a dozen cars showing up for this. So, or at least I
There's a
did.
lot riding on this.
There is a lot,
riding on
and there's over $1 million riding this. This is off of NBC here. NASCAR, they'll spend even significantly more, quote unquote, than $1 million to stage the Busch Light Class at the LA Coliseum, and that's a NASCAR official confirmed Monday. NASCAR executive vice president Steve O'Donnell saying it's been a very big investment by NASCAR. He didn't say the cost of what it did to do the track itself, but I'm guessing there's a lot of other money too in the marketing, crazy marketing for this all over LA and all over the world. You mean you're seeing it on TV, you're seeing it. They're going all out for this, and they brought in 70% of. We mentioned this last week. That 70% of the ticket buyers for the Clash had never purchased tickets to a NASCAR race before. And then going back again with the 6 hours of broadcast coverage on Fox, which is a lot more than the Clash, the original Clash at Daytona over the years has received. And whether or not, there's a chance that the Clash could become the event that changes every year, as opposed to the All-Star race being that one. The Clash could be the one. O'Donnell hinted at that maybe it could go out even outside of the U.S. at one point. So,
Interesting.
And with that, also another announcement too that was announced. We'll end off on this, try to figure this out, wrap our heads around this one. And you had a good point about this. For 2022, the next gen pit stop, they will be the rear tire changers will be able to cross around the front of the car to get to the other side. And we kind of try to figure that one out a bit. And you had brought up a good point as to why it would be better that way.
Yeah. This way, the tire changer at the rear can be in the pit stall before the car gets there, right? You always see the front tire changer, the jackman, and the front tire carrier kind of going over the wall at that third pit box or whatever the rule is, and they come flying around the front of the car, and the car stops, and the jackman and the rear tire carrier jumps off the back, or the rear tire changer. Going across the front, this will greatly improve probably speeds. So what's interesting about this, and I'm kind of thinking this on the fly, they're going to lose. They can take a guy away from. They don't need a tire carrier anymore, right? I don't know if you noticed in the 24-hour pit stops, you'd see the guys go around the car and they carry their own tire with them.
Right.
Right. So my guess is that they're going to have the front tire changer, jackman, rear tire changer. Probably he's going to carry his own tire, and they're going to send a tire carrier with the first one, because he's on the rear. He's going to unbolt the tire, grab the tire, roll it to his right, grab the new tire, put it on. The tire carrier for the front is going to grab that tire, roll around, and grab the other tire that came off the front and go to the wall, right? You're going to see the front tire changer come back to the front, loop around the front of the car and do the front. What you're going to see is that rear tire changer is probably going to come back to the wall. And as soon as he's done working on the car, you're gonna or as soon as the jack man gets around to the other side, you're gonna see a different rear tire changer gonna stand there and change the tire. That way, the fuel man doesn't have to let the rear tire changer by. You notice that, right? He'll sit there and fill up the fuel, and they drop the right side, and they all come running to the left side. He's got to step back to the wall and then go back to the car to put the fuel back in. He doesn't have to move anymore, and
Right, yeah.
you know what I mean.
From
There's
the
just a
Joe
whole
Gibbs
lot.
video here, it still looks like it's the usual pit stop.
I'm just spitballing. Like, I don't really know.
It's interesting how they're going to figure it out, because I wonder, because it was it's 10 seconds. It's 10 seconds without gas, that pit stop. So that is a little bit, what are they usually at? 13, 14 seconds? Forget. It's been a while. But yeah, like that's going to definitely save some time if they're in a situation. But how many times are you not trying to pack it up with gas? So it's interesting to see how that's going to play out. So let's see, there's a couple other things here they mentioned too. The double yellow line rule is being considered at Atlanta. Decision has not been made yet. I guess that's maybe been an issue. I don't know, from their testing there. So, and another interesting little thing coming out there. Maybe we'll end up seeing that becoming an issue. Interesting stuff. Yeah,
they're considering. I wonder. Yeah, like you said, like what makes them? Are they considering doing it all the way around the track, or just in a certain part? Right, because it's not all the way around. Daytona,
it could be,
and it's not all Daga.
Could be.
Because it does look goofy off the front with the with it all being paved right now. Like when they were doing testing there, it just was paved all the way from the wall to almost the pits. It did look kind of goofy.
Right.
But interesting. I look forward to seeing what they do there.
Yeah, it's going to be coming up. Our next podcast, we're going to be having another big episode. We're going to be talking lots about what's going to happen this weekend. We're also going to have Kyle Steckley, driver up here at Canada APC Series, and son of Scott Steckley, NASCAR Pit Series champ. It's going to be we're going to be and legend. Can't forget that. Got to mention that. We'll speak to him. We'll be having a little chit chat with him on the show. Wow, my little Johnny. I'm sorry to sound like Johnny Carson or whoever that one host is. Yeah, we got it all right here on Wide World of Motorsports. You can check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and a few others. We are also we're also broadcast monthly on the Waterloo Region Podcast Hour on Radio Waterloo. And you can also check us out, all our other doings on social media at the WWOMS. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and up on YouTube and Facebook Watch. You can find the Wide World of Motorsports TV there. And we're trying to upload as much as we can. We got our iRacing esports team stuff up there. All of this stuff is actually located up on our website, the Wide World of Motorsports podcast.wordpress.com. And yeah, that's I think that's it, Wallace. That's it for this week, buddy. What do you say?
I'm sad.
You're a little sad, but hey, it keeps going. It's going to keep going right here. We're going to see you all around the bend, folks.
Adios.